Well, good morning, folks. This is going to be a fantastic Leading Your Best Life. I'm with Richard Elkington. He's CEO, MD, founder, leader of this group called E-Group, 14 companies, and I met him at SBN, Superior Business Network, and it's great to get him on air to share this with you. Richard, welcome aboard.
Leigh, lovely to be here, mate. I'm glad we've got it all together now.
Mate, exactly. It's taken a week or two to make it happen, but you're looking magnificent there in that incredible boardroom where everything happens. And there you've got the E-Group logos behind you. But before we get to E-Group, let's start with the Richard Elkington story. Where did Richard Elkington start, grow up, go to school? What's a bit about his background before we start talking about the E-Group?
Born and bred Bayswater, Maylands area.
Yep.
Still live in Bayswater, still work in Bayswater. This is where I grew up. Had a couple of years in Geraldton, which were very interesting, but most of the time it's been a homegrown boy.
Okay. So schooling wise and then a career after school, what happened there?
So schooling wise, year 10 dropout. Probably not as acceptable nowadays, but it was the in thing back in those days. I basically went to the National Bank, applied for a job. They said we only take year 12 students. I said to them that I'm going across the road to Westpac, and that afternoon I got a phone call saying I start Monday. So different world back then, though, of course.
You sold them on something. And by the way, what got you to choose the bank? Because you're reminding me that's what my old man wanted me to do. He wanted me to get a job in the bank, and that was a safe job to have. Dad was a motor mechanic, so a bank job was just the ant's pants. And when I turned down the job in the bank to go to uni, he literally thought I was mad. So in your case, what got you to choose bank?
Your father was much the same as mine. Mine was a roof plumber.
Uh,
And he said, mate, you are nothing but a numbers guy. Go work for the bank.
Okay. So did you, in that case, did he read you well that you did have an aptitude for numbers? You good at maths, or you felt comfortable with numbers, or is that the story?
I add up a lot better than I write. So yeah, no, definitely, without a doubt. And it was probably the best direction. I only lasted 2 years in the bank, but it was very good grounding. So yeah.
Okay.
For sure.
Okay, so how did then the 2 years in the bank and then leaving the bank, how did that then lead to E-Group, and how did that all start?
There were a heap of jobs in between. And then I got into finance broking. So a finance broker is basically an accountant with a personality. For the accountants out there. While I was finance broking, I was in the offices with my father-in-law, and he had a company that was in dire strait, and he asked me to go through it from a financial point of view. And I went through, they were like $750,000 in the red, and took me a little while to juggle things around and get them all sorted. They were $80,000 in insolvency, but they had an agency for fire extinguishers that they'd never used. So I bought that off them for $80,000, grabbed an extinguisher, took it down the back, fired it off, pulled it apart, put it back together, and I thought, I can sell these, and EFI was born.
Wow. So just on that, so how old were you, and where did you get the 80,000 from?
The 80,000 was all paid for by credit cards. And I think at that stage I was, what are we now? I'm trying to think, 38.
So 38 years of age. Okay.
But I could always juggle money with credit cards. I'm very good at juggling money.
Wow. Well, let's not everyone's going to have the balls to put 80 grand on a credit card or credit cards. So let's just talk about the Richard Elkington personality for a second. As a kid, did you play any sport at all? Were you competitive?
Very much. Played football in winter and cricket in summer, like all people my age did. There were no other sports. But at 15, I started playing squash, and played squash up till about a year ago when I did the meniscus in my knee. And I played football till I was 42, and I played cricket till I was 50. So there you go.
Mate, see, we know that people who achieve and people who have the guts to put 80 grand on credit cards, there's both a combination of ego and competitiveness, or at least achievement desire. Research from Harvard University, a fantastic paper which showed people who can sell and achieve at selling have those two characteristics: achievement, desire, and ability to read people and have empathy. So you and empathy doesn't mean sympathy. It means being able to read the other person and then adjust their behavior. So let's talk about that for a second. You and selling, because as you say, finance broker and accountant with personality, not everybody has those two characteristics. So let's just say, well, there you are. You said, I can sell these. Not everyone's even going to say, I can sell. So let's talk about selling for a second, you and selling. What's your relationship with that word selling and the whole idea of selling?
My belief has always been product. If the product's right, anyone can sell it. One of the things the philosophy we've had with selling fire equipment is fire equip is mandated. So I'm not selling a gold watch. I'm not selling a silk tie. I'm selling something that's mandated. If you know your product, and oh God, I can't stress that enough to people, know your product, you'll sell it easy. Whereas if you don't know your product, you're never going to sell it. And that's what it comes out. And I don't care if it's a widget, whatever it is. You need to know your product. There's no question you can ask me about a fire extinguisher that I can't answer.
Okay. All right. Well, let's just do that. Let's go to the site. We've got it. We've got it here. We've got the LinkedIn profile, but I'll go in the first instance. Let's talk about fire extinguishers. Here's the site. So tell me, as you say, it's mandated. So on that basis, what's so good about your fire extinguishers and what you guys do compared to the opposition, the competition?
So product wise, and I'll be perfectly honest, and I say this to everybody, fire extinguishers are red and they hang on the wall. Does another fire company sell a better fire extinguisher than me? No, because we all pretty much sell the same fire extinguisher. So that sort of goes out. So what is different with us? Service is the key word, I think.
Yep.
We're there. We service on a regular basis. We make sure that it's all programmed. We don't miss services. We do all of that sort of thing. So product-wise, there's not a lot of difference. Exit lights, same thing. It's the same product. But do you know what you're talking about? When you walk into a room, or when my sales guys walk into a room and talk about exit lights, do they know what they're talking about? Do they know about the Australian standards? Do they know that our extinguishers comply with 1851? Yes, they know all that. And that's the key thing. And this is why I say the knowledge side of sales. It's not all about how good you can talk. It's not all based on all this sort of stuff. It's based on knowing what you're talking about, being confident.
Yep. So just on that, let's talk about that, because as you know, I talk about my CZ6 sales system. And what we know is in a lot of cases, sales teams are undertrained both in product knowledge and in process. And so in your case, what have you done to train your guys or your team in terms of knowing product knowledge, and then how they go about service and how they represent your company? Let's talk about that.
So everyone's trained the same. We tend, and this is probably unique for our industry, we don't hire from within the industry.
Why is that?
Because they already have their way of doing things. So in the early days, we used to hire from Chubb and Wormald, and the first thing one of them would say to me is, oh, we don't do it like that at Chubb. And that really used to annoy the hell out of me.
Yeah.
The fire industry, I knew nothing about it. So all my ideas were fresh.
Yes.
When I came into the industry, no one went door to door. No one called in on businesses. That's not how it was done. Now,
Yep.
does it? There are a lot of things that are developed that fire companies didn't do because that's not the way it's done. Well, you don't know how it's done until you try it.
Yeah. Now, again, Harvard's got another great article on that called Industrial Myopia. If you just hang out with other accountants or other fire extinguisher people, you end up all thinking and talking the same way. And you're reminding me exactly of one of my past clients way back in the 90s, Brian Cummins, who founded Cash Converters. And Brian said the same thing. We never hired anyone from within the industry. We wanted to get people, one, that we could train and do the way we wanted things done, not the old way.
So Cash Converters is actually part of my history. So my first foray into the stock market was Cash Converters. And I think I got them at 8 cents and got out at 32 cents and made a huge amount of money and
fantastic.
in my pocket. So, and of course they went way up and they went way down as well. So
Yeah.
the period I was there was from 8 cents to 32 cents and made a a good profit on cash conversion.
Well, Brian, I'll be happy to hear that. That's fantastic. In fact, I'll be catching up with him in a week or two's time. I'm on the phone to him regularly. He's a superstar when it comes to business, in terms of, taking a pretty much a crappy industry. In fact, he asked a guy at Mount Law. He used to pop into the Mount Lawley store in the early days before Cash Converters, and he literally said to the, because he worked with Bedshed and he had a mentor in Bedshed that was very great attention to detail when it came to retail. And he wanted to apply some of those principles because he said this shop is messy, it's merchandised badly, it's lit badly, the pricing's wrong. And he said to the guy, mate, look, why don't we set up a store and I'll go halves? And the bloke said, nah, I don't give a stuff, mate. Go and do it yourself. And that's how Cash Converters started. So just on that, Brian's a Virgo perfectionist. Let me, without getting into star signs, what are you?
Pisces.
Oh, that's interesting. I'm a Piscean that's good with numbers, mate. That's just broken my paradigm. I'm a Piscean, but I'm more poet and songwriter, as you've seen, than numbers.
I have no talent in music or any of that. So there you go.
Okay, all right. So just on that, what would you say if I was to say, Richard Elkington, what are your talents? What would you say your talents are?
Running a business.
Yeah.
And I know that I believe you could throw me into any business and I can run it.
Okay. So what makes you good at running a business?
Knowing the numbers. So, and being an all-rounder, like people are specialized in, and let's say sales for that perfect example, and you can run that stuff, but can you run the business? So you'd have that ability, numbers, running a business, working with people, the sales side. There's so many aspects of a business that a lot of people don't take into consideration. They concentrate on the areas they're good at and everything else falls by the wayside, and that doesn't work. You've got to cover every aspect of the business.
So as you say, knowing the numbers are the result of all of those other things you spoke about, which gives you your finger on the pulse. So I'm going to say something else there.
It's not just 2 and 2 equals 4. That's very much the accountant mentality, and that's great. You need that, but you need to be able to make 2 and 3 equal 4 as well sometimes, and that's where that business person comes into effect. And the perfect example, as we mentioned earlier about credit cards, well, I funded a lot of businesses off credit cards because I could juggle money. That's not something an accountant can do, but that's one that just has a gift of juggling money.
Wow. So just on that, let's talk about these other businesses that you have developed off the back of the fire extinguisher business. How did they all come about, and what motivated you to do it?
The extinguisher recycling was purely from, how can I put this, an environmental thing. So extinguishers used to be pressure tested. That stopped 15 years ago. It was cheaper to buy one from China than it was to pressure test. So we created this huge waste within the industry and no one cared about it. So I spent a lot of time working out how can we recycle extinguishers so that it's not just going into landfill. And we did that, and that created e-extinguisher recycling. From that, within the extinguishers, one of the byproducts was ammonia phosphate. We turned that into a fertilizer. We now have a fertilizer business in Wolf, Australia.
Wow.
Furniture one's a little more interesting. So I bought into a Brazilian gold mine. Please don't ask me how that went, because we lost a lot of money on that.
Not quite the same as Cash Converters.
No, well, Cash Converters lost money going overseas because the rest of the world doesn't think like Australians. And we don't understand it sometimes. I can now tell you that every state thinks differently in Australia, let alone overseas. So that was a lesson Cash Converters learned, and a lot of companies have to do it before it sinks in. So with the furniture business, bought into this Brazilian gold mine, went to their offices to discuss assay results, waiting for the boardroom. They were pulling all the furniture apart, and I spoke to the removaler saying, what's going on? He said, oh, they're moving from Subiaco to Osborne Park. And I said, what's happening with the furniture? He said, oh, we're taking it to the tip. And keep in mind, this furniture is 6 months old. It is plastic in some instances. And I said, no, you can't do that. Take it to my factory. So all this furniture rolled up at one of my factories, and my then business manager and myself sold it all off on weekends and all over the place to keep it out of landfill. Well, the company brought that furniture, kept bringing furniture from other jobs as well. So one week they dropped off 145 desks. And I'm sitting here thinking, what have I done? 3 weeks later, COVID hits. I'm selling desks by the truckload because everybody wants to work from home.
Oh man, how good. The universe opened up for you there.
We then realised, hang on, this is actually a business. So I bought a property in Embleton, 4,000 square metres, and the rest is history, basically. And now we save 300 to 400 tonne a year from landfill, and it's just booming. It's just getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
Wow, wow. But clearly you've got a can-do mindset. There's no can't do in the Richard Elkington mind. Or you tell me, let's talk about that for a second. Your mindset, how would you just would you say you've got a can-do mindset? What kind of mindset would you say you have?
And I have to blame my father for this. He's not alive anymore, but when he was alive, his attitude was there was nothing I couldn't do. And he
Right.
would, everybody, there's nothing he can't do. And I think he instilled that in me from day one. And that was sport-wise, work-wise, anything. There was nothing I couldn't do, and I believed him.
Mate, the power of fathers. I mean, I had this conversation with other guys as well in terms of, the power of fathers and mothers to shape kids' attitude. I mean, from famous people onwards, it's the can do, or you're going to be a leader, or you're going to be a business person, or you're going to run the country, or whatever it is. How you can plant that seed in a person's head that shapes their future. So your dad was a can do person in that regard as well, was he?
Was he? I don't know, but he
Mm,
instilled it in me.
mm, mm,
One of the prize stories I have, I was in the bank and I worked at Murray Street. So I used to actually to walk up to the bus and catch the bus in because I was only 15 at the time. And I can remember one day I had my tie in my hand and he said, "Where are you going?" So I'm going to work. He says, "Are you going to work like that?" And I said, "No." He said, "Well, put your tie on." He said, "You leave this house as you're going to work." My father wore black singlets, shorts and thongs his entire life. The only time he ever wore a suit were wedding, funerals and bar mitzvahs.
mm.
But he still made sure that I wore my tie the minute I walked out of the house.
What a
And
guy.
silly little things like that. Did it match his persona? Not even close. Did
Mm, mm, What a guy. And just on that, did you have brothers and sisters or your only child? What was the story there?
master of six, but they're 15, 16 and 17 years older than me. So technically I'm an only child.
Right. Uh-huh.
Gone by the time I came along. So yeah, technically an only child.
So you
And
had a lot of attention in that regard. You were
and there's another thing. No, because
ah,
when I was 8, so
ah.
yeah, the attention side wasn't there. I could do whatever I like,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
set rules. One of the things I wanted to always do was watch Monty Python on a Thursday night.
mm-hmm.
At night on the ABC. His ruling was you can stay up and watch Monty Python, but if I ever have to call you for school on a Friday, you never watch it again.
Wow. He's clear on the rule department, which again, from a raising of kids' point of view, is such a great thing around clear setting of boundaries.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I could do what I like as long as I did it right.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
And he never
So,
called me for school on a Friday. That was you
you,
chose to stay up late, you get up early.
you played by the rules there. So let's talk about, obviously over the years you've seen many people in business, including the people at SPN, but quite across. Let's talk about from your observations, what are some of the common mistakes you see or handbrakes that you see that business people make?
So you and I are going to talk in the next, I think,
Yeah,
first.
yeah. I'm gonna actually let's just put. I've actually there it is. There's the
Yep.
poster.
Look at that. That's us.
That's us, mate. Yeah, looks nice.
One of the things I want to talk about with people is business are children. So if you think in the first year you can look after your business 9 to 5, and sorry about my language, but you're an idiot.
Yep.
Like looking after a baby from 0 to 1. Yeah, it has to have all your attention. It's just irrelevant. You've got to be there. So one of the mistakes they make is they think, oh, just work 9 to 5. That's what I used to do at my old job. But once you own a business, that's out the door. That's
So businesses are children. Where did you get that idea from? Where did that come from?
in my own head. And I only came up with it about 3 weeks ago, Leigh, to be perfect. But there you go.
Okay. Very creative, mate.
You and I were going to talk about, and that
Okay.
I thought this, a 2-year-old. So once your business is 2 years old, new problems start. It's now the terrible twos. So your work ethic has got to be based along that. Companies go broke in that 2-year period because you don't show that attention to that terrible two. 3 years, you've got your business is a little more stable, but it's still got its issues and you still got to work hard. Once a child reaches 3, we can slowly start doing other things, and a business is the same. But in those first 3 years, that business needs your attention. And if
Wow.
someone else, it's going to go broke. And that's why so businesses go broke in that first 3 years.
So let's talk about attention. When you say attention, what does that look like in terms of, say, hours of work, the sorts of things you put your attention to? What would you say?
Okay, so the first thing is, how many hours do you put into a baby? No different.
24 hours almost, yeah.
And look, that first year, I can remember the hours I worked. They were ridiculous. They were crazy. But we knew we had to keep it alive. And keep in mind, in those first few years, again, we're juggling money, we're juggling stuff, we're juggling everything. So I was the salesman, I was doing the accounting, I was doing the books, I was doing the stock order. That's what happens in those first 3 years. You're doing every single job. And where that comes as a payback is when I now go out and speak to staff, and I have 80 plus staff in the fire business. I walk out and talk to them and they go, oh, yeah, you don't know what, mate, I've done every single job in this business. So when they say, oh, you don't know what you're talking about, I go, actually I do, because I did. And when they talk to me from a sales point of view, oh yeah, but people don't, you know what? Been there, done that, got the t-shirt, I know what works, I know what doesn't work. Trust me.
Yeah.
You get a business where you haven't done all that groundwork. Sometimes when you get to that latest, and again, like a child, if you haven't dealt with that child from 1 to 5, your relationship with that child's a lot different than if you've grown up with that child.
Absolutely, absolutely. So just on that, 80 staff in the fire extinguisher business across all 14 business. How many people are on the team of the whole E group?
Oh, do you know, someone asked me that the other day. It's between 130 and 140.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Okay. And just on that, as you say, working those long hours. I mean, let's talk about relationship with spouse, with wife. So, your wife. How would you describe your wife's role in either supporting you or being in the business? The role and all the importance of that.
Did she get a copy of this?
It's up to you.
So she worked in the business with me, and like in the early days when we used to refill extinguishers, her and I used to do that on a Sunday in the factory. So
Oh wow.
Been there from day one. Sure, in the early days she had kids to look after, but once the kids went to school, she was as much in the business as I was.
Right.
Not to the extent of what I do and that sort of thing, but always there. And again, like my father, she never had any doubts. There was never any, oh, what's going on here? She just knew I had it under control. So that helps.
Wow. I mean, many a time people say the most important decision you'll make is who you marry, particularly if you're running a business. So she's still in the business today. She works in the business today.
I tried to get her to retire, but she has no interest whatsoever. We just had 2 grandchildren, so takes her 1 day a week out of the office, but she has no intentions of retiring. She loves it just as much as I do.
Isn't that fantastic? So, that's fantastic. So is 1 + 1 is 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 right there as a husband and wife team, eh?
The only issues we have sometimes is when we're at work, she has to understand that I'm still the boss.
Yes.
But what I understand is when we're at home, she's the boss.
Yes. So good. Well, that's role clarification. Absolutely.
And we have arguments at the office, like not only any couple, but also any staff members. But at the end of the day, she understands I'm the boss, but she's the boss.
Yeah.
And I lose away when she tells me to.
Yeah, good. So let's talk about that for a second. Not so much you and her, but you've said 140 or thereabouts staff team and at one side of staff. So you don't understand. Let's talk about what are some of your systems for both communication and your systems for having to do performance management or motivate or get the best out of staff.
So a lot of that I've handballed now. So as the CEO, I still communicate with the staff, but I try to make them answerable to their, sorry, mate, I've got there he goes, gone. My IT guy was trying to sign in.
Oh, no.
They're answerable to their line manager. And while I'll talk to them and all of that happens, they're answerable to their line manager. So the bigger the company gets, the less involvement I have with the guys.
Yep.
Even when we first started, we only had 7 staff. State manager handled the staff. Am I great with people? I don't know that I am. With people that are on the same mindset as I am. Those that aren't on my science mindset, sometimes I get a little frustrated. That's better they talk to their line manager.
So therefore, very early on, you were very clear about structure of who reports to who, how this whole thing works. And obviously, you know, we say sometimes people playing volleyball, jumping into other people's patches is a great way to stuff the whole game up. So and I heard you say the other day something about I wouldn't touch that because that's someone else's job. You're clear about what you touch and what you don't touch in terms of making things work. Where did you get all of that from? Did you read about it, or you saw other people, or where did you learn those skills and that mindset? Because I use Brian Cummins as a great example. I call him Mr. Teflon. Nothing sticks. As in a problem or a job comes in, and he already knows where that's going. It's not sticking to me. I've got a structure or a person that handles that. And I regularly talk about Teflon management, that the higher up you go, the more you should be Teflon so that someone else needs to handle it. Otherwise, you become the bottleneck. So where did you learn some of that stuff?
I think back now, where did I look? It was just life's training.
Right.
And I'm not university trained. I'm not through all of that. Did I listen to Brad Cooper lectures? Yeah. Did I get a lot out of it? Nah, I got a little bit here and a little bit there. And if I actually had to sit down and go, where did you get it all from? I've named 400 people. This and a little bit from that. Oh, I like that. That's where all my information's come from. Little bits from a lot of people, not going, oh, I've modeled myself on Kerry Scott.
Yep.
It's been, oh, Kerry did that. That's a good idea. I'll try and bring that into work.
And just on that, so who would be, if you're talking about any mentors as you were growing up? Obviously, you've talked about your dad. Who would be some of the mentors maybe that you would go, I learnt that from that person, or something that person said that really stuck?
Every single person I worked. So if we talk about the period 15 years of age to 38 years of age before I started eFire, if I look at all the people I worked with, I could name 100 people that I got a little thing from. Just little things that you go, oh, that's great. So there was I had no one particular mentor.
Yep.
Good or a bad thing. Now you want to mold yourself on one person. There's nothing wrong with that.
No.
From everybody.
Well, it does mean you have an open mind. You're willing to take it on board and go, I'm going to constantly absorb and take stuff that, I mean, I see from your behavior at SBN, you know, you get stimulated by people's problems and ideas, and I can see you like to share and mentor and give people tips to give them a leg up as far as ideas. What are your thoughts around that? I mean, there you are, you sit at the end of the table on a Bayswater meeting, and in fact, you choose to have it in your boardroom. What are your motivations around doing that?
I'm a firm believer in giving back. Absolute firm believer. It needs to happen. I can't stress that enough to people. When you get to that point where you can give back, please give back. Something you may or may not know about me. Every Monday night, I go to the Perth Children's Hospital and work on Radio Lollipop. So that giving back, I think it is. I love giving back. Do I enjoy it? I love every minute of it. For 2 hours every week, no one can contact me.
You're right. And what do you do? I see the sign behind you, the Radio Lollipop for the Children's Hospital. So what happens on Radio Lollipop?
Depending on the night, some nights I'll be on the radio and I'll broadcast to the Children's Hospital. I think we broadcast to about 7 or 8 hospitals. Or some nights I'm actually on the board with the kids. So I'll go down and I'll play Uno with them and show them card tricks, and that's, that to me is giving back, and that's what it's all about. And in business, I want to try and do the same thing, because I think people get lost and they can't see the forest for the trees, and just having someone talking to them without any motivation. Do I want them to pay me for it? God, no. That'd be the worst thing that could ever happen. I just want them to know that here's my advice. Take it, leave it, do what you like with it. but there's no hidden agenda. There's not, oh, if I give you this advice, I expect you to.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
nothing. Just help yourself.
As you say, giving back without any agenda. So that being the case, if I was to say what motivates Richard Elkington, what would you say?
Um, a lot of people think money, but money's just the byproduct of everything else I do. I think it's realistically just having fun doing it. You know, I talk to people now being 63. Am I thinking about retirement? I go, oh yeah, no, I should be retired in 5. And they all laugh at me and they say, you love the chase, you love all the things that go with it. You won't retire in 5 years. And it's true. I probably won't, but yeah, it's just the chase, the fun.
Yeah, well, if you're having fun, mate, I mean, as we're talking intrinsic motivation, the fun of solving problems, and literally you see an opportunity like, or a problem that needs solving, like, for example, the furniture business. By the way, did I see something in there around pets? One of the eager, what's all that about?
Doggy daycare. Yeah. That's been very interesting. That's been very, very interesting. Someone came to me with a problem. They had a great business plan and they were $30,000 in debt, but the business plan was right. They just had no idea what they were doing and thought, yeah, we can do this. Love the business plan. And I keep in mind, I've never had a business plan in my life. Everything
But
has.
you like their business plan.
I love their business plan. So we got it together and now we've got 6 doggy daycare centers and a pet treat manufacturing business. And it's weird.
Wow. But again, you use the word interesting. It stimulated you from like an intellectual point of view. It's there somewhere.
It was different. It was just people pay you to look after their dogs.
Yeah.
Yeah, right, okay, no worries. You can do this.
Did you have a dog?
Yes,
You're right. Okay.
but not to the extent that would make me want to own a doggy daycare centre.
You're right. Right. So if I was to say to you, and again, what would, from the business plan and now how it works, what is different about doggy daycare compared to the competition?
Nothing. And I can say this honestly, I've done nothing to make doggy daycare new and exciting. It's just doing it. And if I opened up 10 doggy daycare centres tomorrow, they'd probably all be full. It is, yeah, the pet industry is a huge industry. And you can always measure how big an industry is if it's in Bunnings.
Yeah, right.
In pet food. So that tells you, yeah.
You're right. Isn't that interesting? Wow. So, yeah, I mean, I know we've used dog care centres and the people that work there love animals. So just on that, let's just talk about culture or energy or the vibe, whether it be the people that are working in the fire extinguisher business or the people that are in the doggy daycare centre. As chief exec, how do you shape or influence or get your managers to shape and influence the culture and the vibe of a place? Because you're doing it for fun. So, so how do you? What are your thoughts around that whole CEO, culture, energy, customer experience?
So if we talk e-fire, I'm being very lucky. The next level of management below me, which is my wife is the office manager and Phil, who's my general manager, and so forth. They've all been with me for 25 years. The problem Phil has is Phil was a storeman and is now general manager. He only knows one way of business, my way. We don't disagree because we're on the same page for everything. That's very lucky. What tends to happen in businesses, and it's one of the things I've never agreed with, is when a higher position becomes available, they go headhunting from somewhere else. You use the guy that's been with you for 20 years. As I say, Phil thinks exactly like I do. So when it comes to passing things down the line, he thinks no different to me. So it's just, and one of the great sayings we have at eFire, if Phil opens his mouth, it might as well be coming out from me, because it's exactly the same thing you'll hear.
Yeah, right.
This headhunting business of getting someone in and then they don't agree with me, well, what's the point? It's the same as from outside the industry. We don't hire from other fire companies. I would prefer to have a bricklayer come work for me than a guy with experience with another company.
Yeah, yeah, it makes sense. Straight away, you're going to have unnecessary friction, unnecessary clashing of energy or thinking or ego or whatever it happens to be. So over the years, have you ever hired anyone in and you've gone through that experience where you broke your own rule and you paid for it?
Yes, in the early days.
Mm.
We had one which came over from England that was going to change the world. Fortunately, we never hired him. But that was that same thing of, oh, no, in England, we do it like this. Hey, mate, not in England. We're in Australia. We're a different beast. And as I said to you earlier, South Australians is a different beast to West Australians. Victorians, they're all different beasts. We're all in the same country. Man, we are different. And in business, we are different. In Melbourne, because of not a breakdown, but a change of plan, I finished up taking the SA business, and the other guy I was in partnership with took Melbourne. Best thing that ever happened, because Melbourne doesn't operate like WA.
No.
You see that in mining and everything. We're just different thought process.
Absolutely. No, well, my first big job, consulting job, was with a consulting company changing the culture of Australian telecom. So there were 90,000 people, and each state, as you say, was completely different in their approach and their attitude. And usually what we found was the West Australians always had an innovative approach. They always wanted to do, Sydney wanted to just control the show. Melbourne had the old school Collins Street kind of boys club routine. Sydney weren't far behind them, but the WA people were always that little bit different, and because the South Australians all knew wine better than anyone else. I'm talking the 80s at that point, which by the way, you don't mind a little drop yourself, by the way. You say McLaren Vale.
Yeah, McLaren Vale in South Australia, the best wine, yes.
Yeah. So, but it's an example of how the states approach things in a different way. Some hierarchical, whereas Melbourne and Sydney versus West Australians, they're a bit that more innovative, entrepreneurial. Hang on, let's just think outside the box on this one. There's a different way of doing it. It's quite interesting, as you say, how the different states are different. So as you say, so in most cases, you'll do your best to be recruiting from within the organisation rather than outside as a way of helping to shape the culture. Let's talk a bit about when, on the odd occasion, a person might go a bit off the rails. Experiences you've had around performance management, where you said the other time was a person, or you don't understand, or they're pushing back on an idea, or they're not towing the line, or they're not following the system or the process you want. What have you done in the past, and what have you learnt, and what would you advise business people about performance management?
In these instances where they push back like that, you are wasting your time if you think you're going to change them to your way of mind. It tends to be that once that's instilled in someone, that's them. That's their way. I linked it the other day to barracking for a football team. I barrack for Carlton. I barrack for West Coast. They're never going to change. They're going to barrack for Carlton their entire life. Great, that's fantastic. But I don't want a Carlton supporter. I'm a West Coast supporter, just as an example. It's a silly example, but that's the case. So I don't want that person working for me if they can't come along to what we're trying to achieve. And if they want to do it the way Chubb do it, great, that's fantastic. But you need to work to Chubb, not for me.
Yeah, right. So just on that, there's a great saying that says, hire slow and fire fast. So on that, it sounds like you're pretty quick to rip the Band-Aid off if you need to, rather than try and find out that, well, clearly over the years you might have learnt the lesson that it doesn't work too well the other way.
Well, so things have changed over the last, and a lot of people blame COVID, but definitely things have changed. So if I go back to 2018, and this is when we had 60 staff at eFire, 2 people left in 2018, that's all. And one of them came back to work for us in 2019. And that was my greatest claim to fame, because we try to keep people for 10, 15 years. That's all changed. People are now 3-year terms. Sad, but that's today's world. And I think COVID created a lot of that, where people just change jobs all the time now. And it's just, I've given away, we've been going 26 years, and I've given away 3 25-year shields, something like 10, 20-year shields, and a heap of 10-year shields. So we tried to keep people for a long term. Unfortunately, now that's not the way it is.
Yep. Okay. So if I was to ask you, what does the future for E Group, and what's the future for Richard Elkington and the business, and obviously the husband-wife business? What's the next 3, 4, 5 years or more look like?
So we've made a plan with EFI that we're going to work very hard for the next, and this is probably the next level of management. We're going to work very hard for 3 years with the view of, have we made a lot of money? Yes, we have. Well, why sell it? Or have we made a lot of money, but we're tired? And do we sell the business? So we probably have a 3-year plan on that we may get out in 3 years. For me personally, if I sold eFire, that's fine. I've got plenty of other businesses to keep me busy.
So just you say we've made the plan to make money. So in that regard, are there other investors, other partners, other managers, shareholders, or percent? Is there some kind of performance-based arrangement in there?
You look at E Group, and it's probably public record anyway. I own 80% of E Group. My general manager owns 10, and my 2 senior people own 5. So that's how we've broken it up. From a decision point of view, we all have the same amount of decision. I don't care who owns what. This is your business as much as mine. eFire would not be what it was without Phil as my general manager.
Yeah.
Sorry, can't do it all myself.
Yeah.
I may own 80%, but at the end of the day, it took all of us to get it where it is. So
Yep.
I would like to think it's probably worth somewhere in the vicinity of 5 to 7 million. So that means the other guys would walk away with a chunk of change, and they could make the decision of, oh, I want to stay with the business, if we don't want to. So it just puts us in that financial realm where they can make a decision on what they want to do.
Yeah, right. You're reminding me of one of my kind of heroes, or at least people I studied, is a guy called Andrew Carnegie, who was the richest man in the world around 1914 or thereabouts, the First World War. And he it got me because one, in a Zig Ziglar book once, he had a quote: "No one can become rich himself without enriching others." I went, "Who's this?" And at the bottom it said Andrew Carnegie. When he sold his business, all his managers all became millionaires and multimillionaires. I said, who is this guy? And as it worked out, American Iron and Steel, when they sold it, he had made sure that each manager had some shareholding, so there was a vested interest in them, putting time and energy in. They weren't just employees. And so when they sold out to I think JP Morgan, each of them went, well, that's interesting. So there, as you say, Phil is a great example, because he also had a guy called Schwartz that was his right-hand man running that show. And they said, why do you pay Schwartz so much? He said, how much does he know about iron and steel? They said, no, it's not about what Schwartz and iron and steel. It's what he knows about managing and getting the best out of people. So just on that, one of the things Carnegie did was at the end of each shift of production, they'd write on the floor a number of what tonnage was produced that particular shift, and create a bit of a game out of performance and achievement. So within your business, how do you manage and share the numbers and the dashboard, and how do you make a game of achievement or success there? What goes on there?
So bonuses for eFire is purely based on profit. Company makes money that month, everyone gets a bonus, and that's everyone. Right?
So right. But some of the managers have equity, but everyone's gets paid a bonus based on profit within the business.
Yeah, companies make money, we all make money. Happens at the furniture business. Furniture business makes money, we all make money.
Fantastic.
We lose a lot of that in today's world, purely because the businesses are so big. You tend to lose that. Whereas, yeah, we're probably still at that size where we can do it comfortably. No problem sharing profit. It's not a bad thing.
No, I think so. And of course, psychology, we say reward the behavior you want repeated. If it's about making profit, then let's share the profit. In fact, the Chinese, another great proverb, again, this came about because Dimmicks were a client of mine, and I'd be waiting for the CEO to go to a meeting, and I'd be walking around the bookshop and I'd pick up books. And so I got all these books working at Dimmicks, consulting to Dimmicks, and one of them was a Chinese, I think it was could have been Sun Tzu, The Art of War, and he said, the Chinese have a proverb: do not forget to give the wing to the person who gives you the chicken. share the spoils. I mean, again, the Chinese are pretty clever in a whole range of areas. That was a good one. So there, you're certainly giving the wing or more to the people that are giving you the chicken, and it's a win-win situation, which is psychology. Reward the behaviour you want repeated. So that's fantastic. So Richard, as we move in towards the home straight here, is there anything I haven't asked you you'd like to cover as we move forward? Because as you said, we could go for hours talking on these things. Anything we haven't covered you'd like to cover?
The question that I actually wrote in that, because as you know, you gave me a bit of a running sheet so that I could actually have an idea of what the hell I was talking about.
Yeah.
And I wrote in that, do I sleep? Because a lot of people ask me that, do you sleep? And I think my answer to that is, yeah, I sleep very well. And I make sure I sleep 7 to 8 hours a day. Do I eat well? Because of my wife, I have no choice but to eat well because she makes me. Do I sleep well? Yes. Am I in good health? I like to think I'm in good health. I've had 2 days off in 38 years, so I think that's pretty good. Some days I have slept under my desk because I'm that sick, but I'm still at work. You can't do the hours if you're not looking after yourself outside of that. So do I eat well? Yeah, I eat good food. Do I sleep well? Yes, I sleep well. I make sure. And do I do extra things to help me sleep? Sometimes I take a natural herb tablet.
Melatonin or something like that. Yeah.
It's a lavender thing that I take.
Okay. A naturopathy thing. Yeah.
So it's great. Every now and then I need to take that because I suffer from anxiety. So that keeps me awake some nights. So that was probably the important thing that says, yes, you can work, oh, I can't work 80 hours a week. Yeah, you can. You can work 80 hours a week real easy. It's not that hard. But look after yourself outside of those 80 hours. Make sure you sleep. Make sure you eat properly. Make sure you do all that.
So just on that, I like to say, we say routine determines results. So on that, what time do you wake up in the day, and if you run me through your day from the time you wake up, and let's talk about work, exercise, eating, looking after yourself mentally. What does the average day look like from start to finish?
So to give you an idea, in what month are we now?
July.
June, my average steps per day was 16,138. I don't go to the gym. I don't do anything else. I work, and in that work process, I don't sit behind my desk. I don't sit in front of a computer. I'm out we have 4 businesses all within 1 kilometre radius. So I'm at each of the businesses running around looking at things. So I get a lot of steps. So that helps me, not so much from a fitness point of view, but just a general health point of view. You do 16,000 steps a day, there's a pretty good chance you're half healthy.
Yeah.
That's yeah.
So that's your working. So what time would you say you wake up in the morning, and what does that day look like?
So am I regimented on that? No. If I've got a 7:30 SBN meeting, yeah, I'm up at 6 o'clock. SBN meeting, well, you know what? I'll get up when I get up. So if I'm in bed nice and early the night before, I might be up at 6 o'clock. But some days at 6:30, everyone says, oh, you got to get up at the same time. Do you really? I'm quite happy to wake up when I wake up. My body,
sure.
And my wife stresses this on me all the time. I've got to listen to my body. My body says, mate, don't get up today because you've got nothing to go to. Don't get up till 7. Why don't I get up till 7?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, you can't just go, oh, I've got to get up at 6. I've got to get up 6 because you've got to do that to start the. No, you don't.
Sure.
Wives' tales.
Yeah, sure. So then you're up, breakfast. Let me just ask you, what diet?
No breakfast.
Oh, you don't eat breakfast?
No, I'm up. I'm a typical male. If I'm up at 6:30, I'm in my car by 6:45 because I'm up, showered, dressed, gone.
All right.
My wife gets up at 6 and she leaves the house at 8 because it takes her 2 hours to do all the things that she's got to do.
Yeah.
That's not me. I'm up, showered, dressed, gone every morning.
Okay.
Then I'm at work. I have a coffee at work. Do I have a breakfast? So the fallacy by Mr. Kellogg's when he said breakfast is the most important meal of the day is a load of rubbish. I have a meal when I'm hungry, and I'm generally not hungry first thing in the morning. 10 o'clock, I might be hungry. I'll have something to eat. I'll have a decent lunch, and I'll have dinner when I get home.
Okay. So would you say your lunch is your main meal of the day, or your dinner is the main meal of the day?
No, I'd probably say my dinner isn't that. And people say to me, oh, dinner should be the light meal. You know what? I'm quite happy to have a nice dinner when I get home.
Yeah, sure.
So, no, I don't follow the letter of the law or everything that everyone says. What works for me. Not works for every other person.
Of
And
course.
I believe this 100%. What works for me, I know, because I've been doing it for 63 years, but what works for Leigh might be different because your body actions in a different way. My wife's a vegetarian. It works perfectly for her body. I lasted 36 days as a vegetarian and I just about collapsed. My body is not a vegetarian body. You learn those things over the years.
Okay. So then in the evening, you have dinner, are you a reader, you watch some TV. What time do you normally hit the sack?
See, that's a bad thing because I get home from work and my wife plays squash, so I'll have something to eat, I'll have a shower, and I'll go lay on the bed and watch telly. So
Yeah.
I'm not a reader. I read some books. When I get into a book, it usually takes me 5 days and it's finished. What I read is I don't like fiction that much. I watch a movie in preference to a book.
Mhm.
Books I do read biography books and generally Australians. I don't, you know, you talk about Zig Ziglar and all of those guys. I really don't read about US and people like that. I stick to what the Australian books. I've
All
read
right.
Rise and Fall of Alan Bond, The Rise and Rise of Kerry Packer, the Kerry Stokes story. I've read all those. And I'm actually reading Lee Kuan Yew at the moment, only because Singapore's our neighbour, so
Yeah. I'm on,
I don't read the US ones. I'm not.
yep. I love Lee Kuan Yew at one stage. He says, I'm not interested in being politically correct. I just want to be correct.
Yeah.
Does it work or not? Forget politically correctness. So if I was to ask you, what's the last good book you read that you recently finished?
I'm reading it.
The Lee Kuan Yew one? Yeah, fantastic, mate. Well, I'm literally up in Singapore playing water polo in a couple of weeks' time at the World Championships, the World
Yep.
Masters Championships. And, as I say, if you go across the bridge into Malaysia, you've gone into a different universe. So you just go, well, how can there be? There's a river and a bridge, and we're two universes different. And really, you can say Singapore, it's Lee Kuan Yew that's been the visionary and the leader there.
It's funny, I've spoken to people that don't have a good word for him, but then I speak to other people that say the man built Singapore. Let's not kid ourselves. It was a pineapple plantation. That's all it was.
Mm.
He changed it and for the better.
Yeah. So, I mean, to think one man's vision, I mean, clearly going to be tough. There'll be people who go against him. And obviously, he's done whatever he's done up there. But I remember years ago when you said you couldn't have chewing gum there or you didn't want long hair either. It's like, no, we've got a way of doing it. And you go up there, there is not a thing out of place. It's just so neat and clean as a result of it all.
I sort of look at it on the philosophy of you're not allowed to litter. Well, that's not a bad thing, is it?
Mm.
Chew gum. Does my life change because I can't chew gum?
Mm.
Like,
Yeah.
go over it. And the changes that they make, and this is what frustrates me with people, is it really that important you chew gum? Well, actually, no. Well, then don't worry about it. Oh, but they said I can't do it.
Mm.
So what?
Civil liberties. I eat an apple or an orange instead, mate. Shut up. Yeah.
So I get frustrated with people, and Australia is a prime example. You know, you just got to go, does it really bother me?
Yeah. Yeah. And of course, there you get people building industries about all of this stuff, whether it be, I'm not saying civil liberties aren't important, but at the same time, there's all of these industries that are built up around these things that are not main game issues in terms
Oh,
of, the peripheral issues, and people build a whole industry up and make a big deal of it. Um, so, so coming back to you, if you were going to ask or tell let's say your 13-year-old self, what would be three things if you could look back and talk to your 13-year-old Richard Elkington, what would be three things you'd advise him to do?
firstly, I wouldn't want to because I'm not sure he'd listen to me.
Yeah.
I can be perfectly honest with that. It's hard because I've thought about that and I said, oh, go back to him and say, mate, maybe don't spend as much time in your early years playing football and cricket and concentrate. But you know what? That was all part of the picture. So
Mm,
I want him not to do that because that was part of me. That's what made me.
mm.
Look, there's a lot of things that I think back on to tell my 13-year-old self, but I thought, no, we got through.
Yeah, we got through.
That I'd love to tell him to buy shares in certain people and things like that. But like at the end of the day, I'm pretty happy where I am and the journey that we went through. I'm not sure I'd change that much. Like I sit back and I think, oh, would I change that much? I really wouldn't.
Yep.
There's some bad things, but bad things in the whole world. You know,
Yeah.
back in time when we shoot Hitler. Um,
Yeah. Just on that, I just had a thought. So you've got some did you say one or two grandkids? Did you say? And
born
so and so was it your sons or daughters? Did either of them? Were you looking to get them involved in the business, or they are involved, or they're not involved? What's the story there?
perfect example. So I have two daughters, and they will tell you these stories from day one. So they have no problems taking my inheritance because at 10 and 12 years of age, they were delivering pamphlets with me. They were helping in everything we did as a business and as a family. They were involved.
Mm.
When they were old enough, they worked after school, they did all that same thing. Did they go in different directions? Yeah, they have. My youngest daughter works for Ronald McDonald House. Will she come and work for me? No. She loves what she's doing there, and I back her 100%. My other daughter went into social services. Am I happy about that? I am for what it is for society. I hate it, the fact that she'll never make any money and I'll work from till I'm 80 to pay for everything. But did they help at the start? Every minute of the day.
Mm-hmm. And clearly both of them have that giving back, compassionate heart that you have in regard to Radio Lollipop and other things.
Yeah, I just needed them to make some money before they did that, but
Yeah, right.
okay, they can spend Dad's money. That's what it's all about.
So she'd know Terry Creasy, who's part of what the Creasy did a lot of stuff with McDonald's and Creasy and those guys a number of years ago.
I know him also because Fire and Safety has the contract for McDonald's for all their fire and safety equipment. So we knew Terry because Terry had a couple of stores and
yeah,
nice guy.
And Greg Battle. Greg Battle is the other guy that used to head up the state franchise council, I think.
I didn't know Greg, but I dealt with Terry a few times and very.
Yeah, great, mate. This is Sorry, say that again. Say that again.
Great comedian.
Oh yeah. Oh, he acted in some British TV series in his younger days. He's part actor.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. He had right. That's why running those Ronald McDonald's balls it was a real show. And in fact, David Green, the event organizer that's been doing it for the last 20 or 30 years, a good mate of Creasy's. It's always a bit of showbiz. It's always let's get some razzle dazzle in there.
But my daughter now helps run those events, so.
Oh well, she'd know David Green, my mate from DG Global.
You would definitely know because she helps run the Ronald McDonald Ball, so she's part
Mate,
of it.
Let's just go to a couple of things. Talking of running things, so we're going to be doing this seminar on August the 12th. We haven't spoken a lot about it yet, but I'm thinking, in my case, I was thinking if I went again, we can talk about whether I go first or not. But I thought if I talk about some of the kind of science and the models, and then you become the real life example, that would be a good way of doing it.
I thought a little different. I thought you start for 45 minutes.
That's what I mean. If I go first, yeah.
30 minutes in the middle and you finish because.
Yep.
Yeah, you're right. Here's the life example in the middle.
Yep. I think that's brilliant because then I think what will happen in that last part is if there are questions I actually can set up a live interactive Q&A where I can ask you some questions, get them started, and then they ask you questions or both of us questions, because where I want it to head is the people walking away with an action plan. They'll use one of my what I call green action sheets, which is don't just come and hear things. You're actually going to walk away with actions you're going to take. So it becomes very practical. How does that sound to you?
I thought that's perfect. And as I say, me in the middle, I need 30 minutes.
Okay, brilliant, mate. Brilliant. Well, we'll talk more about that, but it's a fantastic opportunity to have, you, Mr. 14 Businesses, and we'll take what you've said here. And again, what we know, the real learning occurs when, again, my background being, education, learning occurs when people start asking questions, because they're asking questions that are pertinent to them. And between the two of us, we'll be able to, make it very practical for people. So it really, and when they're only paying for breakfast, so it's going to be a great 2 hours, a 2 hour session. And then the other thing I wanted to show people, of course, is to get in touch with you. There you are, on LinkedIn.
Anytime you like, and I'm sure my email is on the LinkedIn somewhere. Is it? There you go. Website.
Yeah, great.
On my email, and as I say, more than happy to help anybody in any situation. As I say, helping people has always benefited me long term. Definitely short term may not, but definitely long term.
Brilliant, brilliant. What I like to do, as you would have seen me taking notes, I'm just going to go through some of my notes that I've taken here, Richard, because it sparked me. Everything from clearly your dad has helped you with that can do, but also set some parameters and borders around. You know, you can watch Monty Python, but if you stuff up, there'll be a price. And you with your daughters in terms of getting them involved in the business. So I bet you that work ethic, both from your father to you and you to your daughters, both Ronald McDonald House and the other area your other daughters in have really benefited from that. I love the fact you went a finance broker is an accountant with a personality. I like that, mate. And there's no doubt you've got the personality, but that discipline you've got in terms of work ethic shines through, as you say. You can do the 80 hours. You've done that 80-20 split in terms of the equity, but I like the fact you also said, but the decision making, we're all equal when it comes to decision making. It's not like I got 80% of equity and therefore I dominate the decision making. And the 130, 140 staff. And I love that businesses are children. I'm sure we'll leverage off that. And even that model alone, one of the points I'm going to be talking about on the day is take them again, because I'm a bit of a reader in the Dimmicks thing. The Michael Gerber book talked about you've got the technician who does the job, you've got the manager who then manages the technicians, and then the entrepreneur manages the managers. And clearly, where you've worked your way up that ladder to where, as you've said, the structure, the line managers manage the people. I'm, as you say, CEO, visionary. But what I like about what you said there, the 16,000 steps a day, the Japanese have a term they call Genkyo walk. I can't remember, but basically go to where the work is done. You're not sitting in that boardroom. You're going down to where the work is done. You're seeing the people, and that makes a massive difference than just we manage from the boardroom. No, we manage by walking around. I think that's a great example there. So there's so many, and the KPIs, the percent sharing of a bonus, percent sharing of profit and bonuses, mate. There's so much great stuff in here. Anything you'd like to wrap up with before we wind up?
I did one that I've lived by. I don't know if anyone knows Lauren Mitchell, who is basically Australia's greatest ever gymnast. And I got this off her 10, 15 years ago. Little things done repeatedly lead to big changes. And I really believe in that. Those little things that you may not find them important, and we talk about it in sport, in football, the one percenters. They're
Yes.
things that make the difference between, I hate to use these words, but winners and losers.
Yeah,
Really,
absolutely.
what was the difference between the guy that won the Olympic gold medal and the guy that won the Olympic silver medal?
Mm.
1 of a second. Well, that little 1% was enough to get him across the line. Stephanie Rice, I love what she did when she won all the Olympic gold medals. She made the choice that she was going to do everything right up to the Olympics, and she was regimented in everything. She did the one percenters.
I've got a whole program we do on that we call Kaizen Mindset, where we studied great athletes from Michael Phelps to Ronaldo to David Beckham. It's that attention to detail, getting it. I mean, if you watch that David Beckham documentary where he's cutting the candles each night so that they're clean, fresh wicks the next morning. This is Beckham, a multi-millionaire. His attention to let alone if you see him folding and putting his clothes away, how neat it all, color code. You go, what the hell? Surely he's got someone that does it. No. The way he was cleaning the barbecue at the end of the barbie, like just incredible attention to detail, because he put him and his father put that detail into how well he could kick the ball, do that high corner penalty shot. But you see that with champions, which got me thinking. When you played footy, what position did you play?
I played all over the place, but when I started as a kid, I was always a wingman, only because I could run up and down all day and whatever.
Mm.
And then I eventually graduated to the centre. And of course, you don't even talk about it now. That's a midfielder. But
Mm.
centreman in those days, and centreman was a true centreman who played in the centre of the ground, and things were a little different back then.
Well, and was like the general, really. The centreman was such an important deliverer of the ball, like a Sam Mitchell or someone like that, you know.
Whereas now it's just midfield. You just
Yeah,
wingman, centreman, rove. It's all midfield. It's a different game now. Totally.
yeah. Well, you know, again, because my background was phys ed, we know way back in the 70s, Roy Sandstrom was one of our lecturers at Melbourne Uni, and he did a whole lot of personality profiles on AFL footballers or VFL footballers in the day. And what he found was that the forwards were very self-orientated, or much more self-orientated, because they just wanted to kick goals. It was about them. The backmen were very task-orientated, as in just punch the ball. It's not about you, mate. Just punch that ball, stop the forward scoring, you've done your job. And the midfield, the centremen and the rucks were very team orientated. They'd run all day for the team. It was about the team playing well. It was a different approach. So the centreman, another good mate of mine, Mal Emery, I think he might have played centre for Claremont as a young guy. And again, he bought and sold, 15, 20 different businesses. A great marketing guy. So the centreman, as you say, in the old day was very much the general, had the big picture, delivering the ball, timing. It was certainly a different role than a forward and back, wasn't it?
Definitely. And the difference in those days is you played 4 quarters. You didn't come off every 5 minutes to have a break and have a.
That's right.
There was only one umpire to abuse, which was good. So,
Mate, the fact that you played up until, what'd you say, 40 something?
42. And that was because my general manager, Phil, was coaching Kelmscott out in the Sunday League, and I wanted to play under him. So I thought that was pretty special.
Oh, that's lovely, mate. Well, no wonder you two would be. Well, that was Phil the other day that one of the guys parked in his car park. Was it?
Yes.
Oh boy, Phil! You wouldn't want to get on the wrong side of Phil there. His body language was very clear, but that was his car park.
Yeah, he's a redhead, so let's keep that in mind.
Hey, Richard, this has been fantastic, mate. When obviously say we're going to expand on all this and delve into this on August the 12th, mate. I do love coming out to Bayswater. Thank you for giving me that bottle of wine. I mean, that's a great thing in itself. There you were. Whoever comes to your boardroom, you give that bottle of wine from the McLaren Vale and a beautiful big Easter egg. And it's just a lovely personal touch of saying thanks for being here. Not everyone does that, of course. By the way, what motivated you? What triggered you to do that?
Just I want people to come back, and
Yeah, right.
we appreciate them coming. Bayswater was created for my benefit and my benefit only, and very selfishly, I didn't want to travel to Osborne Park. I only wanted to walk from the office to my boardroom. That's all I wanted to do. Does it cost me money? You bet. I don't care. It's that. I don't want to be stuck in traffic, driving for 45 minutes to Osborne Park, 45 minutes back. That's just a waste of my time.
Yeah,
I want to be able to walk from here and go into the meeting, and it works beautifully.
it does, mate. And it's a great venue. Yeah, brilliant. Hey, Richard, thanks so much, mate. I won't see you in the next week or so. I'm heading down south with my family, but I'll see you on the other side of that. And we'll have a liaise about the seminar on the 12th between now and then.
Sounds like a great idea, Leigh. This has been wonderful, mate. Thank you very much.
Mate, thank you so much. My pleasure, Richard. Fantastic.
No problems.
See ya.
See you, mate.